Hey everybody, my name is BlakJak and welcome back to my review for Sly Cooper, Thieves in Time. Like always, I'll be talking about the story, presentation, and gameplay. Let's hop into the review. Before we begin, I'll be talking about a few spoilers, so if you'd like to skip any of that, go to this timestamp. This game picks up at an undefined amount of time after the events of the last game, so if you need a refresher on that game's story, you can watch my review on it. But self-promoting aside, we meet up with Sly and Carmelita, who are dating now, but only due to the false pretenses of the last game's ending where Sly has amnesia. While he and Carmelita are at a museum, Sly can't help but to feed his compulsion to steal things. When Bentley messages the gang to secretly make another heist plan, things begin to go awry. The target of this theft is an ancient samurai sword, the same sword that Sly has actually been eyeing all night while at the museum. Penelope and Bentley are working together on a time machine. Bentley soon realizes that the pages to the Thievius Raccoonus begin to disappear. Bentley also found that Penelope had vanished around the same time. Clearly, none of them have ever watched a movie or read a comic book about the dangers of messing with time. Well, anyway, can we talk about how lame this time machine is for a second? You theoretically cannot travel to the future with this thing. You see, in order to time travel, you need an item from the time period that you wish to visit. Which means I can't visit the future year of 2077 and have an outlandish adventure featuring a cyberpunk person and Keanu Reeves, okay? It's never gonna happen with this time machine. Well, anyway, Sly and company steal the sword, but as they do, Carmelita watches from a distance. Being the head cop lady at Interpol means she gets pissed. Both for Sly going back to a life of crime, but also because he's been lying to her for however long they've been together. I wonder how Sly will explain this all away. On their escape, they put the sword into the time machine that's built into the van during their getaway. The sword takes them back to feudal Japan. Here's where the storytelling kind of becomes disjointed for me. You see, the story is told in episodes, much like Sly 3, with each episode being in a different location and with a different villain, all of whom are working for the Paradox. But you see, the issue is, each member is treated like a Sly 3 villain, where they all have their own motivations and their own plans, but it doesn't have anything to do with the Paradox's scheme, and the only thing that he really wants are the Ancestors' canes. For instance, in Japan, El Jefe wants to just take over the land. How does that help the Paradox? Who knows? Toothpick just wants to be a sheriff and to steal some gold. How does that help the Paradox? The Grizz wants to forge prehistoric paintings and reclaim them in the present to make a fortune. And the only member who actually does help the Paradox is Ms.Decibel, who gets a few of the 40 Thieves to help forge royal paperwork in order to make the Paradox royalty. So the narrative feels disjointed, and the whole plot is linear while attempting to be connected. But the individual episodes themselves and their stories, they are separated. They settled for a Sly 2 narrative while having a Sly 3 storytelling device. Again, where in Sly 2, each episode impacts the following one and has an overarching story, and in Sly 3, each episode is a standalone tale with its own villain, their own motivations, and their own reasons behind what they're doing. It has a beginning, middle, and end for every episode, and then it leads to the ending of the game, or the beginning of the game. Every episode from feudal Japan onwards follows the same flow. Sly and crew arrive in the distant past, find out one of the Sly's relatives are in danger or captured, and then they save them. Then the Ancestors lose their cane and or begin to flirt with Carmelita. We'll get into that in a minute. Sly then becomes jealous of his great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfathers, and they all work together to foil the plans of each villain. Carmelita made it into the past via Le Paradox's time machine Blimp. When she isn't being mad at Sly for lying, she actually has a decent character arc of forgiving Sly. But for the most part, it's her getting flirted on with Tennessee Kid Cooper, or being swayed by Sir Gallet's vivacious, vexing phrases, and then going around shooting things when that just so happened to help the gang out. The only villain in Le Paradox's crew that I think is really interesting is the Black Knight. The Black Knight is in fact an old friend of the Coopers. It's Penelope. It's not really hidden all that much, and yet I was surprised the first time around. I guess I just never really paid attention to anything that like revolved around design or like storytelling tropes. I just didn't realize it was going to be Penelope. Well, anyway, Penelope didn't disappear. She actually joined the Paradox's crew so that she can put a stop to Sly Cooper. She wanted Bentley to pretty much use his genius mind to do evil and maybe, I don't know, take over the world or something. My point is, I'm upset that the writers ruined Bentley's journey in Sly 3. His whole journey of self-discovery, of loyalty, and being more than what he is given has been shattered by this poor excuse of a writing attempt. Having him deal with his insecurities and his physical ailments all in order to still get the girl at the end was a great story in Sly 3. This game made it seem like none of that actually happened, and that he had to reconquer it all by having a mech robot boxing match with his now ex. Penelope went from being a character that I actually truly enjoyed in Sly 3 to becoming like a lame character with flimsy morals. Bentley deserves more. Hashtag better for Bentley. We're just gonna skip until the end now. Sly and crew go back to the present after all the ancestors' canes have been stolen. Carmelita was captured, and so the crew went after him. Sly then runs headfirst into an obvious trap, but he doesn't care. Bentley then gets the help of the ancestors to get each other's canes. Once they are done with their tasks, they get sent back to their time through plot conveniences. They just sort of poof out of existence. Not sure why the Grizz and gang didn't just get heated back to the present this whole time, but well, if the writers don't care, I guess neither do I, right? Anyway, eventually, Sly and Carmelita are freed, and Sly has a lame one-on-one duel with La Paradox as the time-space continuum slowly unravels behind them. It's a cool set piece. The others run away on Sly's command despite them trying to convince him to flee too. Sly then has La Paradox on the ropes, and at the last second La Pew Pew steals Sly's paraglider and then gets hit by a random plane and plummets down to the waters below like a Looney Tune. Meanwhile, Sly is left on the blimp that is still having a meltdown and ripping through space and time. The ending cutscenes show that Cyril gets captured and the gang goes their separate ways. Meanwhile, Carmelita spends her free time looking for Sly, and that actually really upsets me, because she doesn't get closure. This game ends on a cliffhanger, turning Sly into a D.B. Cooper stand-in. Honestly, I wouldn't mind another Sly game that would wrap up that plot point as well as do justice to Bentley. I think a lot of characters ended up worse by the end of this story than they did in an entire franchise. It did not feel like satisfying. With the plot summarized, now I guess we can focus on all the characters. Let's start with Bentley. First things first, I love this design. Bentley wearing the Sly 2 cap and having Doc Ock arms coming out of his shirt is awesome. It tells me a lot about his character at this point in his story, or at least at this point in his journey. He no longer needs to wear a helmet, and he's back to facing his fears of being out in the field. It's great. His story really is an issue for me, because he cares about Penelope, and she just had to go around and break his heart with her scheming ways. Hashtag better for Bentley. Murray went from being my favorite character in the series to being one of my least favorites in this entire game. Gone are the days of the Murray and his righteous rights. Now we have someone who gets insecure when another strongman shows up. Like, honestly, Murray gets jealous of Bob because he can climb. There are two things wrong with this. One, Murray was never known as the climber of the group. That was always and will forever always be Sly. They literally introduce him as the Murray, the Brawn, in every game, starting with the second one, including this one. So like, why are you upset at Bob being able to climb things? Like, make it make sense. And then the other thing is, two, he fucking trained him. Why are you upset? Murray, you literally trained Bob to get back into climbing shape. Your words, not mine.
But he's in terrible condition. It's up to you to get him back into climbing shape.
No problem, Bentley. The Murray knows what it takes to be a champion. All right, listen up. Playtime is over. Your job is to get back in shape, and my job is to make that happen. To do that, the Murray is taking your training to the next level.
And now he's jealous of the guy whom he trained to climb for climbing. What? It's so dumb. It's bad. Other than that, the Murray has just become like a joke machine, and honestly, the jokes in this game really fall flat for me. I know humor is subjective, but I just, there weren't many jokes in this game that made me like crack a smile or like burst into laughing like the older games. A lot of the jokes too are just, let's put Murray in a scantily clad situation and then have 12-year-olds try and figure out if Murray just got railed by a tiger. Like, this is a rated E10 plus game, by the way. They got away with more than I thought you could ever get away with in a rated E10 plus game. That's crazy. To be fair, I did laugh my ass off at Murray in a geisha outfit, but mostly due to the guards' reactions and Rioichi's indifference. I'm also not the biggest fan of his design in this game. Murray just looks a little too big around the waist. I think they could have gone for like a World's Strongest Man kind of look, where the Murray is still round in the midsection, but he's just not like borderline obese. Look, I know the guy races dogs for ice cream cones, but he has never been that big in the other games. Carmelita's journey makes sense to me, but I think she could have not tried to make Sly jealous of his ancestors. That's a little weird. Like, I'd like to root for you and Sly to get back together, but not when your goals seem to be mess with Sly's head by hitting on his great-great-grandfather. Of course, some of this also falls on Sly as well. He's not in the clear for how he reacts to this. But other than the jealousy, I actually like Carmelita. You can tell that she cares about the gang and Sly, despite having a strange way of showing it. The other thing I like is that the game shows her coming around on the gang. She used to catch them after the fact of their heists, never really wondered why they did them. Now that she's forced to be a part of this gang on this adventure, she grew a new appreciation for them, and I really enjoyed that.
I'd always chase Sly, arriving on the scene after the fact. But now that I'd fought alongside him, with Bentley, Murray, and his ancestors, I had to admit a newfound respect.
Oh, and since I decided to talk about the presentation of the characters here as a last minute decision, I like the classic Carmelita outfit. It looks good in this game's art style. I'm not a fan of the belly dancer moment though. I think that she should have been made aware of the plan before everyone had heard of it. It just kind of felt like sleazy. It was kind of gross. Especially the baboon guard's facial expressions. It was not like a highlight of the game for me. One more thing, they changed the voice actress again. She's played by Gray DeLiesel. I think that's how you pronounce it, at least. Who makes Carmelita sound like extra Latina.
Much as I like the idea of Sly in a cell, nobody kidnaps Inspector Carmelita Fox and gets away with it.
I think it kind of suited the character, actually. Oddly enough, I really liked it. Gray is also one of the people who played Daphne from Scooby-Doo, by the way. Sly Cooper is a suave, confident idiot. He begins the game by lying to his now girlfriend about having amnesia. Granted, he did it so that he could be with her, but that's just not the way to do things. Anyway, then he spends the majority of the game trying to set things right with her without apologizing, and he falls for her manipulations by actually being jealous of his ancestors. Again, kind of fucking weird. Anyway, when he's not ruining his own relationship, he's actually a pretty cool character with a classic look. I like the cane, and especially the gold and the yellow of his outfit really pops against the blue. All three gang members, Sly, Bentley, and Murray, have their original voice actors reprising their roles. Sly is played by Kevin Miller, and Murray is played by Chris Murphy, and Bentley is played by Matt Olson. I'm not sure why, but I feel like there's very little stakes for Sly in this game. For a majority of the game, we don't even know what the villains are up to up until the penultimate episode, and then the reasoning behind the Paradox's actions aren't actually revealed until the very last mission, and it just kind of feels hollow for Sly. For instance, in Sly 2, we didn't know the whole plan behind the Claw Gang's usage of the Clockwork Parks until Arpeggio reveals it to Neela at the end of the game, much like in this game. But we knew that the Claw Gang were working together to distribute the illegal spice around the world. We knew they were using the enemy that hunted Sly's family for generations as body parts to commit more evil. So the stakes actually felt super duper high for Sly in this game. Sly getting the pages back of his family heirloom while taking out the Fiendish Five, the gang that murdered his family, gave Sly agency in the first game. The stakes in Sly 3 were a little less for Sly. He just wanted to get into the vault, but at that point in the story we're dropped to in media res, we're about to see him get crushed to death. So we as the player want to see how he ended up in that moment and who the mysterious members of the crew are. Sly Thieves in Time doesn't have any of that. The Thieves Raccoonus' pages are disappearing, but at this point in the story and timeline, Sly has already mastered all the moves. And he's read the book hundreds of times.
You picked up a lot of skills after reading the Thieves Raccoonus.
Heck of a page turner, that book.
This means the stakes end up falling onto the ancestors themselves in this game. That being said, I love all the ancestors in this game. I think they all look amazing. They're all really good design-wise. They all have really fun personalities, if not a little on the nose, like Rioichi being super Japanese. He's played by Steve Blum, by the way. He voices Wolverine. I like that Rioichi is just really understanding and calm throughout everything. It's just a really fun character trait for him. Tennessee Kid Cooper out here is a smooth talker, yes he is. He's portrayed by Sam Riegel. He's been in a bunch of stuff, but I know him best as Phoenix Wright. The prehistoric ancestor may be my favorite character in this game. His name is... yeah, I'm gonna stick with Bob. Bob is played by Patrick Seitz. He mostly does a lot of anime voices, like he used Jiren in the Dragon Ball Super dub. He's also Frankie in One Piece.
Super! That's how it's done!
He's also Bob in Tekken, which I find to be awesome, because there's a slim Bob and a fat Bob in Tekken, and this Bob needs to lose weight in order to be the best egg thief in the clan. I wonder if that was coincidental. I like Bob in this game. He speaks in gibberish. It's fun. He also has a very relatable story of like letting yourself go and then having to work back. Like I'm currently relating through that, so Bob's great. Sir Gareth Cooper is a chivalrous character with a lot of honor. He's played by Spider-Man. Jesus, I can't seem to escape the colorful adventurer. Yuri Lowenthal did a great job as Sir Gareth, and I really like his design too. I love that his cane is also a lance, and he carries a sword with him that he uses to fight off dragons. It's awesome. It's great stuff. Salim Al-Kupar is a great man. I want to get to be Salim's age and just not give a shit anymore. He's played by Brian George. He's done a ton of acting and voice work. I probably know him best as the voice of Captain Barbossa from Kingdom Hearts 2, but he's also the Shocker in that Ultimate Spider-Man game that I haven't played yet. Salim just wants to relax and be in hiding, eating all day. The guy is retired, and these youngins, they're just bringing him back into life with their young whippersnapper problems, okay? Like, he doesn't want to be a part of this. Anyway, he's also just really funny, too. I like a lot of his lines. He's one of the characters that got me laughing. On to the presentation. The look and art style looks really clean. I like some of the changes they made, especially the cutscenes. The 2D artwork and the flash animation is great. I love how it looks. I love that it's more fluid than the older games. I'm sure those games had that look on purpose, like it's not something you would do. That they had the capabilities of making fluid animation for the 2D cutscenes. I'm sure that was just a stylistic choice, which again, I also still love to this day. Like, I think it looks great. That being said, I found it a bit jarring on my first playthrough way back in 2013. But now that I think about it, I think it was just a smart decision to make at the time, and I think it looks really fantastic. I even find it funny that some of the character designs in the 2D cutscenes don't match their 3D model counterparts. For instance, Sir Galeth, in his 2D artwork, he has a mustache and a goatee, but they're separated. In his actual model, he has like a fully connected goatee. Stuff like that. It doesn't break my immersion or anything, but it's just a little fun thing that I noticed while playing. All the characters get an updated style look with the shift to the new console. I already spoke about most of them in the story segment, but for those that skipped it, I think they all look great, except for Murray, whom to me, I feel could have been given more of an Eddie Hall look. Like, trim him down a little bit. He's still a hippo, but make him look more like a powerlifter. He can still be round around the waist, but without it spilling over, making it look really detailed. It's kind of gross. So the villains I don't particularly care much for. El Jefe and the Black Knight are really the only ones I generally like. Decibel, the Grizz, the Paradox, and Toothpick, they're not bad, but their designs aren't that good either. Some of them feel like retreads on older ideas. For instance, Ms.Decibel being a hypnotist. That was done already, and to a more terrifying degree in Sly 2, or like how the Paradox does a sword fight on beams, which was done in a much better context in Sly 3, by giving a character who was captured, and having the ability to fight for the protection of someone she cares about against the person that captured her. It's so much better. Plus, it had better design in terms of combat. It was just a better all moment. The designs should help people understand the characters and reinforce their characterizations and personalities. What part of Le Paradox's design screams that he's an evil, manipulative person who's also a narcissist? Is because he's French? Because that sounds like a stereotype. Don't even get me started on the Grizz. We'll talk about him in a minute. Ms.Decibel's design doesn't say anything about her personality outside of liking music. With the trumpet, her actress, Eliza Jane Schneider, does give her that regal, snobbish vibe though. She looks evil, but that's only because of the Cruella hair color, which means I would need to have an outside context in order to understand the characterization at a first glance. Honestly, I feel bad for her. I don't really think she's a villain. She's more of a victim to the Paradox's schemes. She's stuck in an emotionally abusive situationship where the only benefactor is this pompous skunk. Toothpick's design just screams sheriff. I don't know why he grows when he's angry. Is it supposed to be like a Hulk reference? You know, like when angry he just gets big? It's kind of a stretch. I don't know. I couldn't find anything about armadillos growing, so like I don't know what the reference is here. The Grizz is a poor design in practice. His design doesn't scream failed artist, it screams hip-hop bear. The crown and chain give off Biggie Smalls energies for me. What's even worse when you realize that he's a black bear, and the way that the character acts is very stereotypically hood-like. The Grizz is played by Fred Tatasciore also, which I can't tell if that's racist, that they ended up getting a white guy to be stereotypically ghetto while playing a black-coded character, or if it would be more racist having a black person play the character in the same way, or if I'm racist for even thinking about this in this context. Anyway, let's get off this topic and talk about the designs I do like El Jefe. He's cool. Hello again, Nolan North. Nolan North also plays Le Paradox, by the way. His jumpsuit is like an inverted Kill Bill vibe to it, and I totally dig it. I do like his 2D look better though. The military fatigues tells me a lot about his militaristic like viewpoints and or like how powerful he is, I guess is better. Like the 2D design looks really good. His storyline may be simple, but his design is simplicity done in a good way. Also, the swords are cool too, and I like his godlike powers. On to the Black Knight, who is the big metallic robot exterior hiding a small evil genius within. There's a logo on his chest to signify the one controlling it, and it's subtle. They even distort the voice actress Annette Tutangi. She's motherfucking Freddy Fish, son! Hey, real quick, spoiler warning ahead. Skip here if you don't want to deal with the spoilers. Penelope looks really good. The jumpsuit she wears is the same ones as the mouse guards that Le Paradox uses, just without the gas masks. It really does a nice subtle job of showing how Le Paradox views his subordinates, even if they themselves are incredibly smart and helped make the time machine that allowed him to achieve his goal in the first place. This game has a lot of set pieces and environments that I truly do enjoy. However, I can't help but feel like a few of these have been done before in the series. Let's take it level by level. We start things off in a museum a la Sly 2, on the hunt for an artifact while dodging enemies for the most part. I am willing to excuse that, seeing as the crew are thieves, and museums tend to be like a big target for thieves. There is a sewer segment, but that feels like Sly 3 to me a little bit. The environment is nicely lit, and it's pretty chill. You don't get to see much of the inside of the museum. A lot of it is on the outside, avoiding helicopter searchlights and whatnot, so that's pretty cool. Feudal Japan is really neat. I love the neon look to the signs on the geisha house, and the giant dragon gate is really dope. Even the mini levels here are pretty cool. The caves where you fish are damp and dark, with cool vegetation, evil lightning bugs flying around. It's actually pretty dope. I like Japan. There are other interior levels that are pretty neat. I like that the sushi shop has bonsai trees that act as platforms to Ninja Spire jump to and from. There are really good level designs in here too, but the best one was probably El Jefe's level. The event where you need to run after El Jefe while he's setting all the bridges and towers and scaffoldings ablaze gave this game such a great event to remember. No wonder this was used at the demo level that they presented when the game was coming out. The Wild West town gives off Sly 2 vibes for me. The train running around the entire town brings memories back of hopping on trains in Canada to steal back the lungs and stomach from Jean Bassan. Even the town itself reminds me of episode 6's town in Sly 2. It's just a desert instead of a winter lumberjack feel. The final train mission is the only memorable moment in this level. I like train levels, and running and gunning in one is a great way to spend some time. I just wish you didn't spend so much time shooting buttons to turn off lasers. I want more Deadeye shootouts with guards and stuff to just break. Tennessee Kid Cooper, super duper fun. I love that moment too when you're like climbing under the train. That was hella Sly 2, and I loved it. I don't like the prehistoric level. It gives me Rajan's jungle vibes in terms of navigation. In order to find all the collectibles, you need to be doing a lot of complex platforming and having to find creative ways to launch or climb up a giant fish skeleton to break a bottle. The level itself feels cluttered and complicated, but I do like all the cool things like the sleeping dinosaurs or the giant skeletons or the wandering penguins, but it's just not a fun level to traverse in. It doesn't have that jungle verticality level design. It's just all over the place. Lucky for us, there aren't many missions in the hub level itself for this episode. A lot of the missions are within ice caverns or volcanic magma-filled caves. Some missions have you climb up steep ice walls, dodging egg factory exhaust chutes, or the ice steam geysers. It's all pretty neat looking overall. Medieval England might be my favorite level in the entire game, or maybe like my second favorite. I think Japan's probably my second favorite. I love the gloomy, rainy feel. The enemies are classic contested enemies, but I don't care. The guards having futuristic spins on medieval weapons are awesome. The flashlight guards are just giant androids, which I find to be really funny. I love also that they're just programmed to talk about mundane shit.
Your bearings are grinding again. Sounds like you need some oil.
Tell me about it. I had to take the kids to the beach last weekend.
Man, I hate sand.
Oh yeah, it's the worst.
I wish it was break time. I really need a pint of fuel.
Yeah, we should head over to the tavern. I hear the new metal alloy in the mixers adds a nice tangy flavor.
The whole level is easy to traverse, and it's filled with fantastic set pieces. My favorites are the Mecha Hydra boss battle. I think it was this bakery's defense system was also up there for one of my favorite set pieces. It gave me that side 2 feel. And the circus was super duper fun. The giant mech fight at the end was also awesome. Even if it was pretty simple, that level was just a blast to play through. I loved launching up the towers of Sir Galeth. I love running around at the trapeze, the archer suit shooting the ropes. It's good. It's a great level. Arabia might be my third favorite level in this game. First thing, I love the time period. It's 1001 AD. It's a nod to the Arabian Nights book. It's fantastic. I also just like the idea that the time machine not only travels back in time, but also into folktales. Just like that concept is silly. This world is also pretty big. I think it's the second largest level. I think the third level might be bigger in scale, but there are a lot of neat moments here. I like that you get to find a hidden room that leads to Ms.Decibel's like little nap area. You can even find her like sleeping and there's like guards protecting her. But for another desert-like environment, this level is very lively. There's a lot of cool colors here. The architecture is really great. I love the elephant statues that are prowling throughout the city squares, or like just the big like bulb designs of the buildings and stuff like that. I even think at times it's super creepy, what with those really fluid moving goat heads. I don't like them. They creep me the fuck out. The Blimp level was okay. The only moment we're talking about is when Sly and Cyril are having their sword fight, and that's just because of the background. As space-time becomes warped, the background begins to have like a trippy spiral effect, and that's pretty cool. The level kind of felt lackluster though, especially since there was a better Blimp level in the series. In Sly 2, you got a chance to travel on board Arpeggio's Blimp and dodge Clocklow's bombs. It was a decently big area with a lot of fun traversal challenges throughout. Like the level itself was short, there was only like one day to it, but the area itself was massive. This game made the Blimp feel just like a room or two for the ancestors to get one more chance to be in the spotlight before the end of the game. It was quick, and it was really lackluster. The score is classic Sly Cooper. Peter McConnel returns to compose music here, as well as Michael Bricker and Jonathan Mayer. Every song has many classic Sly Cooper reprises, and all the songs are definitely worth a listen to. You're probably hearing some of my favorites as the video is going on. The sound effects are always on point in Sly games. They're cartoony, they have a nice comic book feel to them. I love the little sound effects like the bottles clinking when you're near them. I just wish they were a little bit louder in this game, but I'm just happy that they're back. My favorite sounds are still when you sneak up on guards and you hear the strings start playing as your character starts to saddle up next to them before you kill them. You know, it's fantastic. It's very classic. Sly Cooper Thieves in Time is a 3D platformer with stealth mechanics. You can climb, you can jump, you can attack while running around collecting stuff or completing missions. Every main character has up to 5 ammos or skills that you can unlock as you progress through the game. The overall gameplay feel is decent. There are minor issues I have with it, but it by no means destroys the gameplay entirely. There are 4 main character playstyles within Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. Let's begin by talking about Bentley. Bentley plays slightly different than the other characters, as well as his last appearance in Sly 3. Being in a wheelchair, you'd kind of expect Bentley to have difficulty getting around the large maps. However, he has a few tricks up his sleeve. Bentley has the ability to glide short distances. Combine that ability with the plentiful amount of jump pads, and he and every other non-climbing character can traverse the lands very easily. Bentley's main way of attacking are his wheels, but seeing as the enemies in this game can be tricky to deal with, I'd recommend just using his range attacks. Bentley can use his Binoculars to launch darts at enemies, as well as having the ability to throw and drop bombs. In Sly 3, Bentley had the ability to quadruple jump, and his glide lasted a lot longer, which made him a joy to play as. In this game, his double jump gets overridden by the glide almost every time. Bentley's ammos affect both his bombs and his darts. They include the explosion ammo, which is a classic and useful ability, the shock ammo, which is the same thing as the explosion ammo, the sleep ammo, which is another classic ability, puts guards to sleep, whether that be through darts or bombs, the shrink ammo, which I never personally use because it's kind of lame since it only shrinks the enemies, making them easier to kill, and by that point I'd rather just run away or throw bombs. And probably the worst one of all is the confusion ammo, which doesn't do damage and doesn't make the enemies attack each other. They legitimately just run away. It's kind of dumb. Bentley can swipe enemies of all their loot and treasures by using his cool wheelchair arms. After taking out all their monies, you can slip a bomb of any caliber right into their empty pocket of theirs. Sleep Dart Bomb Pocket is still a great option in this game, it just has a slightly more cumbersome method of execution. Murray feels weaker in this game than in his prior entries. Murray can still jump and attack and uses multiple elemental punches, but Murray loses the things that make him unique in Sly 3. For instance, Murray can still pick up an enemy and shake them for change, but you now need an upgrade to loot the enemies of their treasures now. His elemental punches are okay for the most part. They don't feel as overpowered in this game as they did in the previous games. There are 4 punches excluding the default punch. The Fist of Flames, Duke of Dynamites, and the Elixir of Lightning, they all do the same thing. When throwing a punch with any of these gloves, you either burn, shock, or just do extra damage while using up the gadget meter per punch. They do not kill enemies in one hit for the most part. The last glove, the Cuffs of Confusion, they just make enemies run around. It does damage though, unlike Bentley's Confusion ammo. On top of these gloves, Murray ends up losing his ball form, so you can't traverse the level like in Sly 3. You can't reach high areas by bouncing multiple times, and I kind of wish they brought that back. Even if it was like an upgrade, I wish they had brought that back. Carmelita is a fun character to play as, but she is ultimately my least favorite of the main 4. For starters, there isn't much to do as her when she's not on a mission. Free roaming as Carmelita is beyond pointless, unless you want to go around murdering any and all guards in a level. She can run, dodge, strafe, shoot, and has a selection of ammo types. She cannot steal nor super jump without a power-up, but the issue there is that her mega jump power only becomes available for purchase after she completes her final mission. Not only that, but it's not as fun to use as the other entries. Although I do like that you are able to walk around while charging it up, it just doesn't feel the same. You know, like it doesn't feel like you jump as high as you did in Sly 3. It feels a little sluggish to use, honestly. Although the Mega Jump in Sly 3 also felt sluggish considering you couldn't move in that one. Her ammos include the basic single shot, the automatic shot, which is a better basic shot because it shoots faster, the charge shot, which if charged fully kills all enemies in one hit, the triple shot, which allows you to shoot 3 bullets horizontally, allowing you to take on multiple enemies much easier, and finally the stun shot, which stuns an enemy. It's fine. I'd rather just use the automatic shot, honestly. Sly and the Ancestors, they all play similarly, so I figured we can talk about them all in one shot. Sly and the Ancestors, they can all attack, they can all jump, they all climb, they can all ninja spire jump, hook launch, and each character has a special ability. Sly and the Ancestors even have unique charge attacks and combo moves, such as the ability to throw shurikens or shoot bullets in a circle. Some others have basic area of effect attacks. One even happens to roll forward for a short distance. Like they're all over the place, but they all generally have like the same effects for the most part. The R2 abilities and the passive abilities are what make each character unique. For instance, Rioichi can leap large distances from a ninja spire jump position to another ninja spire jump perch. He can even run without drawing attention of any guards. He automatically just has silent run activated from the get-go. Tennessee Kid Cooper has the Hand Danny ability, owning a gun. His cane is a rifle. He can aim and shoot just like Carmelita, but he also has his crack shot, which allows him to shoot multiple targets in a blink of an eye, as well as being a one-hit kill every time you use it. After using it, though, you have to wait for the meter to build right back up. I think his passive ability might just be the ability to aim. Again, he has a fucking gun, so like... Bob isn't as agile as the other Coopers, so he lacks the ability to climb and rail run, but he can climb up ice walls, as well as the ability to roar, which scares enemies away, much like Murray's old guttural roar ability. I did forget to show that off, so sorry about that. Sir Gallup Cooper had the ability to launch skyward off of wall hooks. He can use a shield to dash into enemies by double tapping R1. That one I actually didn't know about, by the way, until reading it in the wiki for anything that I may have missed. So I didn't show that one off either. I just didn't know it existed. I don't normally click R1 2 times when playing Sly Thieves In Time, excuse me. So it's not like something I would have thought to do. Sly does have like a cane push ability that you can by just pressing R1 twice, or like Murray does have the clothesline ability by pressing R1 twice, but it's just not something I would have think of to do as like an ancestor. Salim Al-Kapar can climb ropes rapidly by using his ability, and Salim also has a glider as a magic carpet ride. He can just glide using magic carpet, so that's what makes Salim different. Sly's ability is the ability to change suits. Each suit has a unique purpose. The first one you get is the samurai armor, which on top of being fireproof can reflect fireballs, and has a heavy hitting shield attack. He can even use it to disguise himself in Japan, and all the guards will not attack him. The jailbird suit has a giant ball and chain attached to it. You move slowly while holding onto the ball, but you are able to throw it and shatter weakened walls or move heavy platforms. You can also ride on top of the ball and move faster while also being able to traverse deadly floor hazards like lava or lasers. The saber-tooth cowl allows Sly to lay on the ground and avoid detection, while also being able to pounce onto enemies from a great distance, much like Rioichi's Spire Jump Leap. The Archer Soup is perhaps my favorite one in the game. It allows Sly to launch arrows, creating rope bridges for him to rail run on. You can even control the arrows with the left analog stick. The Thief costume is perhaps the most useful one though. It has a heavy sword which allows you to break certain gears or to hit guards with, but its most important ability is to slow down time. You primarily use it to climb up poles that only Salim can climb, but if you're going for all the treasures, having the ability to slow down time comes super duper in handy, especially for those smaller time limits. Much like Sly 2 and Sly 3, Sly Cooper, Thieves in Time, has purchasable upgrades. Unlike those other games, the upgrades in this game are predominantly combo moves or passive abilities instead of gadgets that can be swapped out. Passive abilities like the ability to recharge your gadget meter faster, or having the ability to use upgraded moves like the Inferno flop instead of the Thunder flop. Combos appear by pressing triangle after a number of square button presses, or by double tapping the R1. These moves allow anyone but I believe Carmelita to have extra moves while fighting enemies. They look cool, but they don't really do much damage than just swinging aimlessly anyway. I guess this adds variety to the combat, but I don't think the game is designed to go head to head with every enemy anyway, so they end up just feeling useless. Or like an afterthought. It's cool that I can clothesline people as the Murray now, but that move doesn't always work. And when it does work, it kind of feels like a hollow victory, you know? Much like the other Sly Cooper games, there are micro-game mechanics. Mechanics like the hacking minigames, or turret sections, or the RC sections make a return. The hacking minigames are back, but they're much different than before. Bentley has 3 hacking segments. System Cracker is the mode that most closely resembles a minigame of old. This is where Bentley takes his avatar into a twin-stick shooter-like game. Left analog stick moves, right analog stick shoots, but this minigame has a twist. There are now 3 different forms the avatar can take. For starters, we have the classic shell code. This is an all-around mode. It moves at a decent rate, it's built to do alright damage, but this mode is the only one that can pick up keys. The next form is the Panzer code. This tank-like form moves much slower than the other forms, and the gun does the most damage, but it has limited range. It can break the pink switches though, as well as these pink crystal structures. The last form is the Blue Speeder code. This form moves slightly faster than the green form, but it has a notable drift. The bullets it fires are able to ricochet off walls. The speeder can also leave a laser trail behind to deactivate blue switches once the trail makes a full complete loop by connecting the ends together. Or rather, you can actually connect any part of that line. It does not have to be the ends. The loop can be broken by enemies, but it can also do damage to enemies. The next hacking minigame is the Alter Ego minigame. This is another twin stick shooter, but it acts more like an on-the-rails bullet hell-like game. You play as Bentley's alter ego, who suspiciously looks like John Rambo, as you shoot your way through slime eyeball monsters. If you collect enough bits, you'll increase in level, earning you more power-ups, like faster shooting and movement, extra missiles, triple fire, or moving damaging shields. Taking damage at any moment drops you down a level, making you have to pick up 5 extra yellow bits, or 1 red bit once again. You can also pick up blue grenades, which do an area and effect attack that clears the screen in its blast area. Or blast radius, rather. I like to save them for the bosses to deal massive damage to them, although the bosses themselves don't really do anything outside of shoot a giant fuck you laser and maybe spawn like a ghost. They're really not that bad. My least favorite hacking game is the Spark Runner. You play as an electric ball and you have to navigate a small motherboard maze. The issue is you control the segment with the 6-axis control scheme. Although I find this to be responsive for the most part, this minigame is timed. The time nature of this minigame adds an unnecessary amount of stress onto the player, considering the 6-axis is very unreliable. Not to mention that there is no alternative control scheme for this segment that can hinder any player whose controller has a malfunctioning 6-axis, which happens all the time. Another concern would be players who would have difficulty using this method of control. Perhaps someone who has issues with their fine motor controls, for example, would find this game mode near impossible without any help. Next are the RC car segments. These are really, really fun. You drive pretty fast in them, and you can have a boost to help keep up with these timers or to go through openings in the moving laser grid. One mission has you even sneak around as a chicken to get past the guards, which I found to be really funny. The gun is also really useful when shooting the fans in the air vents or like any bugs you find lying around. But in the mission with the chicken, this guy's, you can shoot the guards blowing your cover immediately, and that's just also really entertaining. The RC chopper is really fun too. It automatically goes forward just like in Slide 2, and you can drop smoke bombs in specific areas to beat the one mission that it's in. There's only one mission. The boost is only really used to dodge attacks, but I find it hard to get the timing right in this game, unlike in Slide 2. I would have loved to see a chopper boss of some sort, like the one in Slide 2, where you drop the bombs on the Jeep. Like, that would be really fun, but there was only one copter mission, and yeah, like it wasn't anything particularly interesting. There is yet another 6-axis minigame with the fishing rod. It kind of overstays its welcome, and I think it could have been controlled with the analog sticks instead, honestly. The turret sections aren't bad. You aim with the left analog stick and you shoot with the R1 button. The gun overheats, and you can't zoom in like you could in the other games, which is kind of lame. There aren't many turret sections, and quite honestly with you, I kind of forgot they were in the game. The Sarsaparilla minigame is okay. It did not overstay its welcome. You move to the lane where the patron is asking for a drink, and you throw sarsaparilla at them. It ain't bad. It controls pretty well. I also like that it's kind of like a rhythm game where some guys will have three glasses that they want, and someone else will have like 1 or 2, and you have to like stop and throw the game in like a quick rhythm. If you miss, you lose a life. If you overshoot, you miss a life. Like, it's pretty fun. It's kind of hectic. I kind of like this one quite a bit. You know, honestly, on this replay, I genuinely forgot about most of these minigames. The sarsaparilla one, the hacking minigames, and the first turret section are the only ones I didn't completely forget about. I legitimately played this game last like 4 or 5 years ago, so I was surprised at some of these minigames inclusions. That's how forgettable some of these moments were to me. Oh, you know what I didn't talk about? I didn't talk about the Bob minigames. Speaking of forgettable minigames, the Bob Weight Loss Challenge has 6 minigames to complete. The Egg Balance is another 6-axis minigame where you balance an egg on a log while penguins try to throw you off. It's easy, but I don't like that 6-axis is the main control scheme here. The Pterodactyl shooting game is fun. You pull back on left analog stick to aim in the direction that you want, and you shoot by letting go. It's pretty fun, but you need to lead your shots a bit, which can be a bit tricky. Whack-a-Penguin, or Whack-a-Chump as the game calls it, is a simple button press game. Press the button where the penguins appear, and you thwack them. hit a rock statue, and you lose a life. Penguin baseball is a simple timing game. The penguin jumps and dives into a hole while you try and spot him away by timing your button press. Duck and cover is easy to play. You just don't get hit by the penguins that I guess the Murray is throwing at you. And the sumo one is just button mashing. Then once you complete them all, you do them all over again in a really fun montage style. We can talk about the bosses and the QTE together. They tend to go hand in hand. So the first boss, El Jefe, is probably my favorite boss in the game. I loved him during the demo, and I still love this fight now. He strikes you with lightning sword sweeps. He even has a move where he drags the blade around him to catch you. During this moment, in the later phases, he even drops like electrical balls that you need to jump over. His biggest attack is the firewall, in which you need to take advantage of the samurai suit to avoid. And then eventually, he will launch a fireball at you that needs to be volleyed back at him. Once he's stunned, you beat on him, repeat a few times, and you have yourself a classic boss fight. Toothpick is also kind of basic. He's not a bad boss. He's kind of like, he just takes a long time to beat, I think. He'll have the floor set up to be an insta-kill zone with the laser flooring. You need to run over the triggers with your jailbird suit. Then you need to use the ball to hit the switches to set off the whistle. This infuriates Toothpick, making him Hulk out for some reason. And then you need to dodge all of his attacks, whether that be the whirlwinds he sends after you, or him ground pounding after you, or even his bombs that he can throw and his gunshots. Eventually, he'll shrink back down, and then using the jailbird ball, you'll be able to stun him, allowing you to beat him up. Personally, I feel that this boss would be a lot smoother if you just hit him with the ball, and then the engine burns him, and then you move on to the next phase. Having to sit back and then beat on him while he's already like stuck in the wall is repetitive, especially when you gotta do it 3 times. The Grizz is my least favorite boss. There's just too much going on here. Much like his level, there's just a lot going on with this boss fight. This fight needs to be streamlined a bit. Grizz has many attacks that he can do while skating around. Your first objective is to dodge all of them. You can't hit him at all. So whether he makes ice rings that freeze you, or he tries to slide into you, or whatever, your goal is to just try your best not to get hit. It's kind of tricky, especially because the floor is made of ice, so you are kind of slipping and sliding all over the place. That part takes a while to finish up. Eventually, he will do a pirouette and then create like a dingo dial like wall structure ring out of rocks. Then you need to punch out the ice blocks at him before the wall resets. Now if it does reset, the game forces you to do the whole dodge sequence all over again. Once the last icicle hits him, or rather ice block hits him, there's a rhythm minigame. There have been many QuickTime events up until this moment throughout the game, but this is definitely one of the worst ones, like the most like egregious one, I think. And not even like on a moral thing, just like in like a design aspect. Like you're slowing down the boss fight here. Remember the dance minigame in Sly 2 or the opera part in Sly 3? It's that minigame. The Grizz will give you 3 buttons to press, hiding 1 or 2 of them, or maybe even all of them. Then you need to repeat them back at him. Do that 3 times. And then you get to wail on him. Now imagine doing that 3 more times, that whole sequence. And he doesn't like add any new things to it. Like maybe like there's more ice in the rocks, but there's like no new movesets that he throws at you. It's like, it just takes forever. This fight could be better if the stun happens after the ice block hits him. Or, better yet, you know what a better fight would be? One where the Murray wails on the boss the entire fight while dodging up close attacks, like that of Rajan. That would have been really fun. Imagine having like a Rajan style fight, but like on the ice, so like the floor is kind of tricky. That would have been so much fun. Like, and this game really like retreads a lot of ideas, so like why not just redo that one? You know, like switch up the boss fights a little bit. Why am I wailing on? This would be the 3rd boss where I'm just wailing on him, gotta stun them and then to hit him. Why not just beat the shit out of him? I'm the fucking Murray. Anyway, fun fact, did you know Bismarcky was gonna be the voice of the Grizz? I didn't. Not until reading some of the trivia on the Sly Wiki. His whole character makes a lot more sense now to me. Like, like, it just fits Bismarcky a little better than Fred Tatasciore. But like, I kind of find the casting switch to be egregious now, honestly. Like I like Fred Tatasciore, but I just don't like the decision of not using Bismarcky. Now I don't know if Biz didn't want to be in this project after the first like initial read or two, or if Sanzaro didn't like the performance originally and just opted to change actors. I don't know. But the more I learn of the Grizz, the less I like this character segment in the game, and that's really upsetting. Because I kind of like his plan. His plan's ingenious, dude. Like, go back so far back, no one has written text, forge paintings, and then bring them to the present. Oh my god, genius. Anyway, now on to the boss fight that I do adore. My second favorite fight is against the Black Knight. He has a giant robot segment where Sly has to use his archer outfit to break the arms and centerpiece of the robot while dodging shockwaves and lasers and whatever else they throw at you. Super duper fun. Then once that's done, Bentley pulls up in a robot and you have a robot mech smackdown boxing match. It's great. You can dodge and weave and lay hooks on your opponent. If you manage to fill the bar, you can even pull off a cool ground pound. Personally, I prefer not using it just because you use the meter to dodge, and using the big move can lead you open to attacks. But anyway, this boss fight is super duper simple, but that's kind of the reason why I love it. Like, now imagine what you did with the Bentley's robot and against the Black Knight, and put that with the Murray and the Grizz and Grizz. That would have been fantastic. Just beating the shit out of each other. Ms.Decibel was fun. I really enjoyed her boss fight. It reminds me of Miss Ruby. Not that I'm trying to always make correlations to older games, but I'll explain in a second. You need to laser run while dodging deadly music notes, and you need to climb up shattering glass platforms to reach her. So, like, the thing that I really like about it is the fact that it's like musical based, right? And there's like a rhythm to it and you gotta dodge. In Ms. Ruby's case, it's a button pressing rhythm game, but in this game, it's dodging just the electrical balls that'll one hit kill you. I like the fact that you are laser running, which is a nice callback to Sly 3, learning of Connor Cooper's ability. Connor is Sly's dad. Connor Cooper's ability to laser slide / run, I'm guessing. So that's pretty cool. Using the slow-mo suit can totally help you out, but it's completely possible to do it without it. It just takes a bunch of tries. It's super duper fun. The boss herself isn't that bad either. She has a few fast attacks that the thief suit can help with, especially when she shoots out multiple notes at you. She can swipe her trunk at you, which is harder to dodge than you would think it would be. She can create a shockwave, and then she even has like this charge move that she does. She rams into stuff, kind of like Hypnotize Murray did in Sly 2. Eventually, you get to wail on her like all the other bosses, so it's kind of lame, but you get to repeat all the fun stuff all over again. Now on to an even worse boss than the Grizz, probably the worst final boss ever. The Paradox's fight is a giant quick time event, but it's legitimately the same button presses every phase. It brings back memories of Penelope versus LaFouille, minus the fun combat or the great storytelling. He then steals Sly's paraglider only to get hit by a plane like a fucking Looney Tune. Like, it was a dumb way to end the game. The QTE segments are alright though. They tend to last a little too long, like the Carmelita belly dance moment or the Murray geisha part. The other QTEs are quick and somewhat pointless. I feel like I even messed up the button presses a few times and the game just kind of gave it to me anyway. They are responsive for the most part, but what's the point? You know, there is also a small area for you to play ping pong with a friend or versus the computer back in the hideout. It's okay, and I question the reason for its inclusion. Sly 3 did multiplayer right. Kind of wish the team of Sanzaro had more time to flesh out a better two-player mode. It's literally the only multiplayer aspect to this game. You can't even play the minigames with someone else. There is quite a bit of stuff to collect in this game. Bottles make a return. Collecting all the bottles in a hub world allows you to get a treasure that gives you a passive upgrade, like being able to see the bottles, or magnetize coins to you, or not taking any drowning damage, or even taking half hit, like half damage on all attacks. There are plenty of treasures strewn about the hub worlds as well. Once you pick one up, you need to bring it back to the hideout under a time limit so that you can get some money. Some treasures make you come back with the right suit in order to get them. Collecting all the treasures in a hub world or in any level allows you to play that hub world's arcade machine. Masks are new to this game. They can be found all throughout the game, in missions or in the hub world. Some even appear in the challenge hacking minigames that can only be played once every treasure has been picked up in a level. These masks unlock extra costumes or new paragliders or references to other games and movies. Some of the treasures also make references to other games like Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank. One of the last unlocks is Ratchet's Wrench, which turns all the coins to bolts, and the last one is Cole's Amp from Infamous 2, which makes Sly a guard-killing machine. It stuns on impact, every impact, It's broken and can realistically only be played once you beat the game. So it's just hella fun. If you want to run around as Carmelita shooting up all the guards, or Sly Cooper beating up all the guards, just earn some quick cash to buy whatever leftover upgrades you need, do it. It's quite a fun time waster. I also really love that every level has their own coins and loot, now that I really think about it. I like the Dragon Emerald Eyeball, or the fact that some coins have like money bags from the Wild West, or like their yen coins from Japan. Like, that's cool. Is Sly Cooper Thieves in Time the best game of all time? No. Is it a bad game? No, I don't think so either. Is this game flawed? Heavily so. I found myself still playing it despite all of its flaws, and I do find myself coming back to it every once in a while. I think that this game needed to cook a little longer in the writer's room, though. There's a lot of dumb decisions made in the story. I don't care for the villain's plot. Well, actually, I don't really understand the villain's plot as you play the game. At least not until the penultimate level, and honestly, not even until finding out what his plot was. Like, it was just kind of dumb. He's like mad at Sly's lineage, so he wants to go back and steal the canes so that his family can be the best. We already did that. Fucking Clockwork, bro. You can find Clockwork all throughout this game. He appears in different segments. You get to like look up in the sky and find Clockwork hanging out, or like perched on top of a tower or something during moments. It's cool. You can look up videos online. I didn't see him in this playthrough because I forgot about it while recording, but you can find like YouTube videos where you can find all the Easter eggs. The narrative devices and storytelling tropes were antithetical to the story the game wanted to tell, and it kind of hindered the experience of playing. I don't care about why Sly needs to go back in time. Why make a time machine game? Like, why make a time travel game? If the whole plot revolved around the Thievius Raccoonus disappearing over time, then you probably should have focused more on that, because having like the canes be the only thing stolen, and like not having the ancestors be killed or anything that would have like hindered them in like a massive way, is just kind of a waste of time. Like, what was the point? If I could go back in time and then stop it all just by showing up and rescuing it, then why is the Thievius Raccoonus disappearing an issue? Why is there further ancestors? Like, why not just go back in the furthest time period, kill Bob, and you fuck up the whole timeline, you know what I mean? And like, no one would have known, you know what I mean? Like, if you just went back in time, killed Bob, I'm sure Bob was an accident, you know what I mean? Like, that was just like a coincidental thing. This story has a lot of conveniences and contrivances and a lot of coincidences that are needed to make this story work. Like, why is the Grizz in prehistoric times? And like, it's just convenient that we landed in the right time period, that these items that the Murray had just so happened to make us go to the right time period that the Grizz, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a contrivance. It's coincidental. Like, you could have, I feel like you could have made like a better story. The gameplay is fine. It's not as streamlined as Sly 3's or as dynamic as Sly 2's. I like the ancestors. Making them play as Sly was a very smart decision though, I think. But I also think they should have made some of the ancestors not have the moves that the later ancestors have created, like Rioichi Cooper being able to rail walk and rail run and rail slide. Like, why? He lived much sooner than Tennessee Kid Cooper. Stuff like that. Like, it would add to the lore. Like, I know it's for gameplay, like, right? Like, it's to make the gameplay feel cohesive and to make it make sense. It's just dumb on like a lore and storytelling reason. You would get around that whole argument, the whole gameplay sense, by having really good level design. And you gotta think about it this way too. Bob can't climb and can't do half the stuff too, and he's still able to get around his complicated fucking map. All you need are like catapults or like trampolines. Like, they're fucking, or like the jump pads. They're, you know what I mean? Like, it's just creative level design. All you gotta think about is, you know what I mean? Like, it would actually probably make the level design more streamlined and a little easier to do. Plus, it would make more sense via the already established lore. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, that's just one of the things I think about. I also don't particularly care for the minigames. or the levels themselves. I wish more of the missions were handled in the massive hub worlds that Sanzaru painstakingly created and detailed. There's so many small little details, such creative like designs and interesting elements in a lot of these worlds, and you don't spend any time on them in the game. Literally, if you weren't collecting everything, you would just go from mission to mission and call it a day. It's just a whole lot of work creating a new map for every level, for every mission. Some of that development time could have been used on something else, maybe better boss fights or something better, like create like new minigames, or maybe even just get rid of the minigames in total. Like, you don't need the quick time events, you could have swapped it out for something else. Sly 2 did it best. Sly 2 had all the hub worlds that were very fun to traverse for the most part, and all the missions for the most part, again, not all of them, but a lot of them, majority, took place in the hub world. There were seldom very few interior spaces per level. The bosses, they all kind of feel the same, with the exception of the Black Knight and the Paradox. Visually and audibly, this game is stunning. I think this presentation is really, 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 really good. I love the way this game looks. I love the way this game sounds. Phenomenal. I love the character animations. Just the look on Bob's face in this one scene is so funny to me. You know, the guards' faces when the Murray is dancing as a geisha, hilarious. Or in the other aspect, when Carmelia is dancing, gross. Like, stuff like that. You know, I love the environment designs for the most part, and I think everything presentation-wise is just super duper duper charming. I just don't know if it's enough to carry this whole game though. Honestly, I'm saddened to say that the Sly series ended with this game. As of right now, it's the last game that Sly Cooper has appeared in. There was, outside of the main trilogy, there's the All-Star Battle Royale fighting game, that PlayStation All-Stars Battle something or another, where Sly Murray appeared in. I think Bentley's also in it, I think. But Sly is the combatant. There is PlayStation Move Heroes, where Sly and Bentley team up with Jack Daxter, Ratchet and Clank to do some stuff with the VR thing. PlayStation Move. I haven't played that game. This game also had another minigame pack where it's all hacking minigames. I think it's digital, called Bentley's Hack Pack. That came out the same day that this one did. So, as of right now, this is the only piece of Sly Cooper media that, like the last piece of Sly Cooper media that we have. The show movie never ended up happening as of this recording. The comic stopped after the first 2 issues, and as of right now, the last appearance of the Cooper gang was here. This is one of my favorite childhood series. This to me was my Crash Bandicoot, my Spyro the Dragon, or my Super Mario Brothers, and I'm saddened to see that this game series started off with a bang, ends with a mediocre whimper. Sly Cooper Thieves in Time isn't a bad game, but it's most definitely a pretty mid one. I'll be giving it a 5.5 out of 10. Hopefully next time I see you all, we'll be playing a better game. But with that done, I got to move on to Jack and Daxter as my next PS2 nostalgic platforming game series. I know I did Jack and Daxter 1 already, but that was a request from a reviewer at the time. I won't be playing Jack 2 next, but it's definitely my board of games to play for the channel. I'm not sure what's next. I want to say it's Assassin's Creed 2, but it could also be True Crime, Streets of LA. I'll probably let you know in the playthrough. But yeah. Well, anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.